Are you seeing my shit?
I am now, yes.
Okay,
Oh, the music's cute.
it is. It's a very wholesome game.
Now, you picked Leroy Jenkins. Did you even play World of Warcraft back in the day?
I definitely did not. You could still like appreciate the reference though. Like
Oh,
this.
exactly. You just have to have watched the video. I wouldn't even consider myself like somebody that played World of Warcraft, even though I did for like a couple months. Just because
Mhm.
I never like renewed a subscription or anything.
Right.
Yeah. I like played a free account, realized that subscription fees are like kind of bullshit and I'd never be able to pay for it because I was like 11.
I'll agree that they're bullshit, but for the time they were hella worth it. That was back when you still pretty much more or less had a premium to pay for internet services.
Right. I like that your character looks exactly like high school Bradley. Just you without the beard, basically.
Which works, really well for these kind of like RPG games.
Yeah.
RPG Maker games. Like
Is it made with RPG Maker? I know it's got like that kind of vibe, but
it motherfucking looks like it. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's probably not. It's because to my understanding, RPG Maker like you can only make a certain number of games, like types of games. Certain mechanics are just like weird to even program, if not impossible. Maybe I'm
The
thinking of
aesthetic,
older ones though.
you're probably right because I know they generally like the the engine that they use for RPG Maker. It's like all the same, and you
Exactly.
can only do very specific stuff with it.
Right.
This game, I think, has like an actual engine that does actual game stuff. Not to like totally rip on fucking RPG Maker, but you get what I'm saying, dog.
Well, it seems like a possibly like a custom engine created by a hobby programmer because this is an indie game, so I assume
Yeah,
it was just some nerd who had the time and knowledge to make a game engine. Didn't really need to borrow it from anybody else.
right. Um, there was an article written about this developer and the Owlboy developer. It was like the headline I read was like game developers or indie developers who developed their dream game, which was kind of sweet in a way. It's like this was their dream to make this game. They fucking did it. Have you ever played Harvest Moon?
I have not really played it, but I'm very familiar.
This is Harvest Moon 2.0, in my
Pretty
opinion.
much, yeah. That's what I hear.
It's like
Um,
I didn't have any expectations going into this game, and then I
did you
was told
really?
about it.
Did you purposefully name it Farm Name Farm, or is that
Yep,
just a default that you left blank?
I purposely did that because I'm not creative with names. Actually, I was thinking about showing you all the names I have for the fucking animals and shit.
Do you have a
Some of
dog?
them are
Is
pretty.
that a dog named Misha too?
Yes,
Now I assume you had a Misha proper.
my lady friend has a husky that she named Misha, which is a World of Warcraft reference.
Oh, so
Apparently.
this is the
Yep.
avatar for Misha, her
Yep.
equivalent.
hmm
Oh, it's
So
Hector, like
yeah, that was
from
just
Ed, Ed, and Eddie.
wasn't a reference. Just couldn't think of a name. This is Captain Sheepard from Mass Effect. I was really proud of that one.
That's pretty nice. I like how ugly the pigs are. They're
This
fucking
is
beautiful.
Porker Geralt. Do
Witcher
you get that?
3, yeah.
Yeah, okay, you got the
I
reference. Sweet.
mean, I do think Geralt is like a huge pig, so that's very appropriate.
This is just "Bitch I'm a Cow," which is like a reference to a really annoying song that my friend showed me one day. This is Zool from the Ghostbusters.
So is that the form of the destructor that you chose?
Yes, it's a goat that I can milk for sustenance. This is Melco DeFranco, which is the cow version of Philip DeFranco.
Who's Philip DeFranco?
He's a YouTube news guy.
Oh,
Uh, It's Porker Peralta. I showed you him, but this is Piggy Smalls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also really proud of that one. And this is Dovahkiin,
Oh.
because just references and shit. Yeah, I think I showed you. Yeah, I showed you all of these guys. So that was fun. I'm pretty bad with names, but sometimes like I'll sit there for like 5 minutes, but like, okay, I got the dopest reference right now. And here's my chickens and ducks and my bunny. This is
Oh.
Trogdor. Uh, this is Emily Bun. This is Trogdor. Because I forgot that I made a Trogdor already.
That's the
This
best
is
reason.
uh, this is Lone Star from Spaceballs.
Oh yeah.
Yep. This is Grim. I meant to make one named Evil, but I forgot about it. So this one's Duck Off, like fuck off,
Oh,
or
can you
something
name
dumb
the
like that.
baby evil?
I already named it. It was
Kupak.
Kupak.
Ah, I like that.
Kupak Shakur.
I think we might have missed one duck.
Uh
I bet we didn't, and now I'm gonna regret it.
oh,
There
Lord
we go.
Lord Jiraxis, yeah,
What's that
another World of
from?
Warcraft reference.
Oh, that's weird. They have so many World of Warcraft references, and yet it's not even a game that you really played ever. Did you even like try it?
No, I didn't. It's just like a lot of entertainment spawned around it that I found interesting. There was this remix song that like took a bunch of voice clips from Jiraxis, and they made a song about it that was pretty fucking epic.
Hmm.
Called "You Face Jiraxis." You should check that out sometime if you're curious. I might send it to you after we record this.
I really like the sound effects.
No,
Yes.
no.
So you have hops. Can you make like beer?
You make pale ale with them.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's so accurate that it makes me giddy.
Is pale ale made with hops? I know beer is.
Um, I guess more generally hops is used in like small amounts in like most beers. Maybe not most, but like a lot, just as a
Right.
flavor. But definitely for pale ales and especially India pale ale. Like the whole
Hmm.
point is the super duper hoppy flavor, like overly hoppy flavor almost.
Right.
Some people fucking hate it.
Well, there's things they could drink that's not IPA.
It's true. I mean, here in California, if you drink anything other than IPA, you a bitch, basically.
You're saying to the man that is currently drinking a tall glass of mead on ice, which
Well,
is like a sin in itself to drink like beverages of an alcoholic variety on ice, but I don't care.
since when?
Apparently, it's like just something you don't do, and I'm a heathen for it.
What
So,
about, like on the rocks? That's like exactly what that means.
but you only like you have a special glass with two very specifically cubed ice ice cubes that like
See, I don't know about
yeah
all that. But mead, I
yeah.
mean, mead, although it makes me think of images of Vikings and like Skyrim,
You know what it
uh,
literally is?
isn't it like honey?
It's honey. It's white wine made with honey
Oh.
as the sugar base.
And if you say it like that, it sounds very, like, pleasant and not very burly necessarily.
Yeah, I was surprised as well. Actually, I'm like,
Right.
what the fuck is that? Because that sounds really interesting. So I'm gonna pour a little bit more.
I mean, I'm surprised because you don't really drink anything.
Yeah, I was curious, and it's been a long weekend, so I thought, hey, why not?
I like the attitude. My attitude with drinking is much less healthy.
Hmm.
um, mine
In what way?
is, mine is, uh, I am out of weed, and it's gonna be a long night. That's my thought process.
Well, you see, it's sort of that exact situation in a, a differing way. Um,
Is it still not cool to smoke at your place because
it
of?
will never not be not cool.
Well, it was already not cool. It was just you were able to get away with it because secrets. So
Yeah, but the
like,
thing is, once the secret's out, it's like
yeah,
it's not that you're just not telling them everything. It's that um, you're actively what's the word?
breaking their will, their wish.
Exactly, because it's like it's known that they are not okay with me doing this, even if
Okay,
I'm like. So it's like out of respect, I choose not to do it.
so
Like, okay, I'll be
them
in pain for you. Don't worry.
their backwards ass attitude on modern medication is now causing you to drink mead.
Yes,
I like that. What if like you could be like, I'm an alcoholic now, and it's all your fault to your
I
parents?
would. My self control wouldn't let me get to that point. I'd like to think, and if it did, I wouldn't blame somebody else. I would blame me.
I know.
It's like,
That's why.
yeah.
See, as soon as I thought up that joke, I thought, Briley's just gonna give me all this logic and make my joke not fun because
Well, I mean,
Bradley's right.
it's a fun joke. Oh, I'm terrible at fishing in this game, by the way. I just wanted to show you the mechanic.
It seems like
Fuck. It's like you click quickly to slow the bar down. You could just leave the bar there by not clicking, and it'll stay. But like you got to follow the path of the fish, which is like erratic. It's some stupid ass mini game. It's like, yeah, I just wanted to show the mechanic,
I
but
actually get more of a Terraria vibe than like any other thing. But I guess that's kind of the low resolution pixel art that's also not necessarily too too great. It's like a little like funny looking, like especially the characters look kind of silly.
apparently there's a mod to change their like talking portrait into anime characters.
Oh, well, that definitely appeals to a good number of people.
Yeah,
What the
I
fuck is that wiggling stuff?
what wiggling stuff.
Those little like
Oh,
nematodes.
they're just like fucking worms and shit.
That's weird. Can you like
Yeah,
harvest them?
nah. I'll show you the mines.
What the fuck?
Yep. So this is the combat area of the game.
Oh,
It is very similar to Harvest Moon. Like almost to the point of like copyright infringement. Like besides the combat element, the mines work pretty much the same. So you have like if you get to certain milestones in the mine of going down floors, then you save your progress. Like, okay, I'm on floor 62. If I every 5 floors, it will unlock an elevator which lets you fucking which lets you leave the mine and you could come back to that floor. But if I left on 62, I'd have to start back at 60. Does that make sense?
okay. This is actually
Um,
it's still reminding me a lot of Terraria, especially with all the little slime creatures around and sort of the way that mining works, where it's like little tiny bricks and you like just smack them a little bit, makes a nice little clink sound. Uh, but maybe that's just me. Well, also the fact that um, like say that sword animation,
mhm.
that's
It's
like
kind of
literally
Minecraft reminiscent, honestly.
that too. I mean,
Where that
Terraria is
like,
very much like Minecraft as well. Um,
yeah,
but like how the sword is like a sprite that they sort of rotate to make an animation, as
yeah, and you
opposed
have
to
like a hitbox go in front of you.
well, I mean like the sprite itself is like it's not an animation, it's just the one sprite being rotated digitally.
Right.
Which I really like that type of thing.
Well, it's kind of an animation because he squats down,
That's true, but the sword
but
itself,
the sword itself isn't a sprite. It just like it's like they just took it and clicked and dragged.
right, which is actually kind of interesting because there's a reason why we do that nowadays, whereas back in the day you didn't really see that with even like games like this where it's like rather simple and two dimensional. Back in the day, it was
People
cheap.
knew how to draw.
Well,
What?
it was cheaper computationally. It took way too much computing power to calculate what the pixels would look like when you do that rotation. But
Nowadays
nowadays,
you can get away with it. Like
right, because you have graphics accelerators and shit.
it almost makes the programmers lazy in a way.
Um,
It's like
I wouldn't say that. I mean,
I wouldn't say they're lazy,
if
but like
anything, it's more programming and less artwork. Um, if anything, it makes the programmers kind of like they don't need an artist necessarily. They just need to rotate the sprite.
yeah, once the sprite's made, they can just like know enough about 3D art to like know how to rotate it and make the animations happen, and then they just input their values.
Something kind of similar, but like totally horrible and not effective. Uh, I found out that one of the Mega Man games, I think it was Mega Man 8, which I forget. I think that might be like a PlayStation one.
Hmm.
Uh, it's like 2D, like it has sprites and stuff, but it's on PlayStation, so it has some of those like more advanced effects. One thing they decided to do was give Mega Man a incredibly um, non-convincing breathing animation that was just his face like shrinking once in a while.
That's annoying and
it
lazy.
it's really dumb looking. And honestly, before somebody told me that that was what it was aiming for, I just thought that it was like, just a normal PlayStation graphical glitch.
Oh, you thought it was a glitch and not like something that they intentionally did.
Yeah,
That's
like
even
how
worse.
PlayStation games tend to like have like jiggly textures for some reason. I don't know. Something about its technology makes it do that. You see that a lot in like really badly programmed games, especially.
Like Call of Duty. Oh,
But yeah, I don't know. I actually really like it. Um, I guess because I'm I kind of relate to the whole program able to program first and not very good at sprites, but still wants to make a game attitude.
I mean,
That being
for
said,
the
I mean this looks nice. I mean I like
it does look really nice. I'm okay with the. It's an artistic choice in my opinion.
yeah.
I'm sure it's easier if you're like not an artist to like do shit like this, but you know, it seems like just an intentional choice, not just something they had to do out of necessity.
Right.
Like if they had $1 million, they probably would have just done this again.
I think one of my bigger gripes with it is there's a trend of it, and it does seem like sort of just a lazy cop out when it's a
It
lot of
is.
games doing it.
Is it still a thing? I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's so many like if you ever don't even do this, but if you ever look at the newly released section on Steam, it's all just pixelated crap. Just like roguelikes and like other copycat rip-off games, games that want to do like a 2D version of Fortnite or some dumb shit, there's all sorts of
I
crap.
mean, if you're at the point where you just want to check out like the bottom of the barrel new releases on Steam, like, is that like before or after you swallow a bunch of pills to kill yourself? Like, and you're just waiting for them to kick in. Like, oh, I might as well kill some time.
Sometimes it's fun because there's like a lot of those cheaply made visual novel anime porn like games. Not really porn, but like kind of etchy lewd crap.
Like softcore hentai.
Yeah,
Um,
the The trailers for those are pretty hilarious. Who's Abigail?
That's my waifu. My big
Oh!
titted Gus GF anime waifu.
What if, like, similar to the Mega Man breathing thing, they gave her terribly unconvincing breast animation?
Oh Jesus.
Just the middle section of her sprite just, like, bulges out once in a while. Boing,
No.
boing. Makes boing
Good
sounds.
boy. Yeah,
This
I would
isn't.
probably uninstall immediately.
If this was programmed by Team Ninja, the creators of Dead or Alive.
So, have you played those visual novel type games? Because
Um,
I have not.
no, I haven't played any legit ones. I played like some of those shitty knockoff ones from Newgrounds back in the day.
Oh, jeez.
Well, you know, like I mean, I think the best one of those, and it's not even comparable, was like was it Sim Date or Sim Girl or some shit? It was fun, cause like it was like actually somewhat perverted, but then it was also like kind of tongue in cheek and really stupid at times. But the saddest part is this was like the early days of release a game before it's done just because you're not taking it
Oh,
seriously, and it never got
yeah.
finished.
And then Ubisoft does that to this day with their major releases.
That's worse though. At least like Sim Girl or whatever was just some crappy hentai game from Newgrounds and not a AAA $1 million budget game.
It's like some dude made this with a budget of like top of ramen food for a week. Like, just did this on his days off, and it took him 3 months.
And I remember that like inspired a bunch of copycats too, but they're never as good. They never took the time to make it as good as his was.
Well, you're saying like this was a parody basically, or like a satire.
Um, it was like half serious. It's like how back in the day, nothing on Newgrounds was serious.
It was
Yeah,
all just whatever the fuck.
yeah,
It was like an animation type thing, right? Newgrounds. Because
right.
I
Well,
was
there
never
was games too. It was just Flash, so just whatever you could make with Flash.
kind of charming. I assume like it's all dead at this point. Yeah.
It's actually still around. It's just nobody uses Flash because there's all sorts of other things you could use that are better and not laggy and
I think
outdated.
Flash worked because you pretty much most people in like the mid 2000s had like some sort of Adobe Flash that could run that shit, and it was just like, yeah,
Same
here's the
reason why Java made some sense. Just the
because
fact that,
most people had like fucking Java.
yeah, you didn't have to port it for each different computer system that you wanted to run it on. Just one code, that was it.
It's also
Distributed.
object oriented, I believe. Yeah.
Uh, maybe. I don't know. I think it was called. Because, you know, you have Flash, which is actually just animation, but the actual programming was, like, called ActionScript or something. I don't know. That's such a dead topic.
Java. Fucking. Oh, okay. So I
uh,
want to get on the topic of like MMOs you were mentioning earlier.
sure.
I didn't play World of Warcraft, but I played RuneScape, and
Right.
call it what it is, I actually fucking enjoyed myself back in the day at the time.
My first my first experience with RuneScape was hearing about it from my big buddy. Because in first grade, I had a fifth grade big buddy, and even
hmm
after we graduated that year, we still hung out for a while. Partly because our sisters were friends,
Ah,
but yeah, he's like significantly older, but he's still like, you know, we still had some mutual interests because he was a nerd.
still
Uh,
talk to him.
no, not really. He seems alright though. I don't know.
Oh,
Anyways, uh, But yeah, he was telling me how you could pretty much just go to the library and play it there, and that's what a lot of people would do back in the day.
Yeah, you didn't like have to. It was free to like you could play the free to play version of it, which you had a decent amount of stuff to do for a while.
Right.
There's people to talk to on it. There's a decent community, decent stuff to do, and like you don't have to download anything. You just fucking sign up and you're playing.
Well, I do
It was
remember other players being fucking assholes. But that's like every online game.
that was just like, hey, the internet's a thing. Also, people are shitty.
Yeah.
Welcome to the real world, jackass. That's just that's just what the mid 2000s were for our generation. We had the internet, whereas like the people from the previous generations didn't really have as good of an access to the internet. They had message boards and the like, but
At least,
we
like,
had like fucking we had YouTube when we were kids.
it's
Like,
true. Early internet assholes were at least, like, they weren't as, like, shocking and, like, purposefully insightful as they are today. Like, trolls now are, like, fucking despicable.
apparently, the meaning of trolling has like just completely changed too. Instead of just like being an asshole, which is what it means now, it used to be like you're purposely misleading someone. I want to say
Hmm.
that used to be the original definition. Don't quote me on that, but yeah. But you say
Well,
that,
yeah,
but
that is essentially that, whereas, like, it's kind of still more specifically that, where trolling is when you sort of you lead somebody on in a certain way that's like if you're in the know, it's funny because like people are like, "Oh, that's so obviously fake," but that guy doesn't know because he's not one of us. He's just a normie.
yeah. Um, you say that about like people being obvious assholes on the message board. Like, yeah, it didn't happen, but I remembered like you still had like fucking like Boogie 2988, one of the YouTubers I watch. He tells about how he used to go on Christian message boards when he was like just a terrible person back in the 90s when he was just in a terrible place in life. He was a shitty person, his own words, and he would go on Christian message boards and post photos of fucking Tub Girl on it, which I assume you know what that is.
I think I know. Is that the one where like there's like a fountain of poop?
Yeah,
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 yeah, I've
yeah.
seen that one.
Do kids do you damn kids do kids these days like have shit like that, like because we had Blue Waffle, Paint Olympics.
Theirs are
Or,
worse. They like share. I don't know if this is true, but I assume that like they have worse things to like be like. Did you see that? Because like I don't know. I saw a real ass lynching. Well, apparently it was fake. Somebody like told me that like it was proven that it wasn't real. But it was convincing enough, and just the fact that somebody tried to post something like that is like, what the fuck? I guess you had that a little bit in the early internet, but like nobody ever found it unless they really tried. Now it's
unless
like
you're
you,
on the deep web.
yeah, well, like now, well then you're trying, right? Like you went to the deep web websites, but now it's like I
Oh, not,
find that
not
I find the
necessarily.
worst shit on Facebook.
Oh yeah, like you could like see fucking real ass murdering on Facebook, and
It's
it's like
disgusting.
okay.
Yeah, no, that's reason enough to get rid of Facebook. YouTube doesn't fuck
There's
around. You
there's
can't
a
post that shit.
psychological need for people to like be aware of like terrible things that are happening and just
Is
like
that
be
true
pissed.
though?
There has to be like because my parents they'll be fucking sitting with the news on. I'm like, why are you fucking watching the news? First of all, it's just the same fucking shit. Somebody got killed somewhere, and like I don't know. I'm just gonna go off on a big ass tangent about that, but
What's the name of
basic.
your big ass teddy bear?
He doesn't have a name. He's decoration.
No, the one by the fireplace. He has to have a name. He's a teddy bear.
He's Hector con carne.
You already have a Hector.
Well, this is Hector con carne.
Oh wait, was the goat named Hector? Oh, that's
Kiss
cute.
my animal wife. I know it's adorable. I first saw that my fucking cold ass heart cracked and crumbled, melted.
Why is your
Um,
TV right in front of the front door?
cause I don't watch it and I don't know what to do with it, so it's
Why do
just
you
there.
even have it?
I,
Do you
because
need it?
inventory management is a bitch in this game. I
Can't
don't
you
need
like
it.
sell it? Ooh,
Yeah,
cheese. I assume that's cheese. Yeah.
yeah, it's for sales. You turn the milk into cheese and the eggs into mayonnaise, and they
Duck
sell for more.
mayonnaise? Is that
Yeah,
really? Is that a thing?
probably. Just all mayonnaise is eggs and oil and I think a bit of sugar.
Well, can I get like some emu mayonnaise?
Like pretty much anything that has an egg, you could make mayonnaise out of
Can I
it.
get some
Oh, fuck.
platypus mayonnaise?
If it has an egg, then yeah.
That's why I
I
brought up platypus. Right? Because don't they have eggs? Or am I thinking of something else?
they might.
Some mammal has eggs. Or maybe I'm lying.
Lots of mammals have eggs. Like ostrich is a mammal,
No, ostrich is a bird.
but are they separate?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm fucking dumb. I'm
Learn,
not like about to get into all
learning
this.
biology with Bradley.
This is not gonna go very well. I'll tell you that right the fuck now.
I don't know, I'm that guy that looks up. Oh, what family of animals is the raccoon in? Is it more related to the cat or the doggy?
I do that, but then I don't actually understand it, so I just fucking I can't be fucked.
I don't
Like
understand it, but then I just open it up the next week when I need to bring it up again and then read it over.
conversation to impress your friends. Like, hey,
Yeah,
did
exactly.
you know that the T Rex is very closely related to the chicken?
I think everybody knows that.
I looked it up the other day and I was fucking impressed. I was like, what?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think the chicken is necessarily more related to like T-Rex than others. It's more just like dinosaurs are related to birds in general, right?
Yeah, which surprises the fuck out of me because I always thought they were like reptilian.
Right, technically, dinosaurs includes birds.
Hmm.
So birds nowadays are modern dinosaurs. They're what where they ended up essentially.
Birds and IBM computers.
What? What? What's this guy talking about? IBM?
Yeah, that's
You mean HAL?
I forget what the I stands, but business machines.
I think it's international.
Yeah, international business machines.
Intense.
Intense business machines. Interspecies
Oh,
relationship business
ancestral,
machines.
incestual
Incestual
business machines.
IBM. Fucking TM at the end of that statement.
IBM every morning when I get up and go to the bathroom.
It's irritable every time. Fuck, John. You been to
No,
the doctor?
IBM just means eye bowel movement.
No, it's irritable bowel movement.
Not necessarily.
Generally speaking,
No, you're thinking of irritable bowel syndrome,
yeah.
which I don't think they call it. I don't think IBM stands for irritable bowel movement in any context.
Well, it makes sense. Like if somebody said that to you, you wouldn't question them outright.
Well, like, don't people with IBS always have an IBM?
Yes,
Like,
that's the
there's.
whole point.
Yeah, so you don't even have to specify.
But
It's just
I
a BM to them.
I still counter that with if somebody said like irritable bowel movement to you, I don't think you would question it.
I
Like
wouldn't
it's
want to ask any further questions if they're already talking about their bowel movements.
some homeless man with crazy greasy hair comes
Oh,
up to you off the streets like, "Hey man, back in '79 when I was taking a gallon of PCP through a coffee straw every morning, I was having these crazy IBMs."
and that's when I take the early stop on the BART. Like,
turns out,
okay.
turns out he pulls out a Model M keyboard.
Oh,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
LGR in disguise.
yep,
He would talk
IBM.
about his BMs while looking like a homeless man, wouldn't he?
He'd been thrifting all night.
If you know what I mean. Thrifting in
Yeah,
his pants.
yeah. You generally wear pants to stores that you go thrifting at.
Not the thrifting I do,
Oh, well, what would that be, John?
but thrifting.
Butt thrifting. Okay,
But
that
thrifting.
that what you do on Tinder? Like, I can't afford that. Let me go for a cheaper option.
I mean, you can like spend money on Tinder. I don't know if anybody does though, because that just sounds like the weakest thing that anybody could possibly do.
Yeah,
This again is reminding me like Terraria, because you got the trees, and the bigger ones take more hits, and they give you more wood, and there's acorns that you plant to plant the tree again.
how are you liking the way the game works so
It's
far?
pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's not like this isn't a game you're just like, I gotta play this all the time. It's like I play this, generally I get off work after like a 10-hour shift, I'll get home.
It seems like the type of game that I would have an existential crisis over, but that's just me. I just games where I have to make my own goals, that happens to me. So I just suddenly think, holy crap, I don't necessarily need to do anything but just keep subsisting, and I basically won. Why should I do anything else? Just like a microcosm of like what's wrong with my life. You there, Bradley? I can't hear you.
I muted my mic. Yeah, I was saying some shit and like kept like talking over me.
Oh,
Yeah. No, I was just gonna appreciate the
oh, you're
box
you're
mic.
cutting out a bunch still.
Is it better?
Maybe. I like the little fuzzies.
Yeah, those are like I call them the Miyazaki
Oh
monsters
yeah, yeah.
from Spirited Away.
They
Has the
also,
cutout been fixed?
I think so.
Okay, sweet.
They sort of remind me of the black fuzzy things from Paper Mario.
Not familiar with that. Haven't played that in a number of years.
Paper Mario and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door are some of the best Mario games. And it's weird to call them Mario games, but I guess like, because I can't say that they're better than actual
There's-
like proper Mario games, but
They're
for
unique though. They're really
yeah,
unique.
I and I want to say like they're some of the best RPGs, but then they're just so much different from traditional ones that also seems weird.
Well, it's odd to compare something like that though, because with Mario games you have very specific subcategories. You have the platformers, which you can compare those, but you really shouldn't compare those to other Mario games. Like you're not going to compare the original Super Mario to Super Mario Sunshine. It's just not a fair comparison, right?
Sure.
Like they're just completely separate genres. So I don't know. You might have more fun with one, but I don't think it's literally apples to oranges in my opinion. So like you're saying, Paper Mario, those are just literally their own thing, in my opinion, because it's kind of like a turn-based RPG type thing, right?
Well, let's say if we were to compare it to something, like we had to compare it,
Yeah.
what would be the most like appropriate thing to compare it to?
Um,
I would just
Shit.
guess, turn-based RPGs in general.
Yeah, like
It's much more like that than like a Mario platformer, despite being a Mario game.
right. It's just that with a Mario skin. Well, that's an oversimplification, but
A little bit.
yeah, basically.
You could essentially have other characters besides Mario characters, and it would be, you know, quite different.
Yeah.
Uh, I think,
I thought they were charming for what it's worth. I thought those games were really I didn't play them much, but from what I've seen of them, they were rather charming.
there's a buttload of Mario RPGs now, not to mention Super Mario RPG, the first one. Which I haven't played, but like nerds on the internet like to like masturbate themselves over how much they love it. I don't know. People really like that game. It's okay probably. It seem
Yeah,
it seems
I've
like kind of like if I played it, it'd be kind of outdated.
right because you're like, well, I could just play a one with better UI and better mechanics.
Right. And there's
Like, okay,
all sorts of Mario RPGs now.
all sorts of RPGs like of that era that you could be playing. Like, oh, I don't know, Mother 2.
That's true, yeah. If I were to play a a more light, less like dramatic RPG of that era, I would probably choose Earthbound. Just because that's.
Not like I couldn't think of the title or anything.
I recently got. Uh,
John, you gotta be quiet. The federales are gonna come and get you.
well, here's the thing. Fuck you. I don't know, because ownership of things like that is so, like, questionable to me. Everybody that worked on that project is not going to make any money off of it anymore. They already got their
Even
paycheck. So now it's just Nintendo trying to hold on to some IP for as long as they can for no fucking good reason.
well, even to a point where like there's no money they could make on it because they don't sell it to you to purchase in like a legal fashion.
Right, often these games aren't available or are
Yeah,
available in a specific way that you may not be uh, too keen on using. Like, if you wanted to play some of these older games, you'd have to play them on a Switch or like a Wii U or a Wii, in which
and then
case you'd have to have a special controller or put up with the crappy Wiimote, which is not built for those games. Or
and
you
if I
could do
believe
the nice option that I want to do, which is play it on a computer where I can have all the options I want, whatever controller I can find, all sorts of shit.
and
Better
I believe
graphics. Lots of
you can't buy them outright. Even like you have to just rent them for like it makes no fucking
Well,
sense.
okay,
Like
that's a good point too. So nowadays, you can only buy them online, like, and it's tied to your console slash account. So you buy Super Mario RPG on your Switch. You own that up until you don't want to use your Switch anymore or can't or whatever. Maybe it's the Switch is now suddenly 15 years old and you don't really have any reason to play on it other than you have a copy of Super Mario RPG. So that's why you keep around your fucking Switch even though it's 15 years old. Like,
to
that's
play a
stupid.
game that was made for what the N64. Okay, anyway,
Like, what that's an argument you could make about my Wii U. Is like I have plenty of uh Wii Virtual Console and downloaded Wii U games that it would kind of be a shame for me to just get rid of it. But that being said, why would I want to hold on to it forever? The answer to that is but anyways, it's not the best topic.
so PS2 era game, there is no money to be made off those. If they sell them, like I don't think they would even notice. Like you're one guy that's gonna buy the game that's probably only selling for like $5. That's gonna go where? Like $5 probably just disappears out of the company, out of just like just it just goes like fucking, I don't know, office supply budget. It's it's a fraction of that for one of their offices somewhere in Minnesota.
Well, it's like they make far more money. I would hope, right? I would hope they make far more money making new games to where they would mostly worry about that.
Oh, at least make the.
Wouldn't you hope for that out of a game company who's supposed to make new games and to keep being innovative and fresh? Wouldn't you hope that their main revenue was not just releasing their old stuff as new ports?
I don't think anybody is making that argument that that's what they're doing.
Well, I'm not saying they are, but it's like unless that were the case where like it's such a significant chunk of money that it's important to them, unless that were the case, then why should they care so much about people pirating their games?
Well, piracy, yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Okay,
And
well, like say pirating old games, like ones that they're trying to sell for like $5 on Virtual Console. Like, is
okay,
that
yeah,
$5 really like? Is it really that significant that they should care about it? And if it is, it's kind of sad that their new stuff is not making enough money to where they wouldn't have to worry about shit like that.
$5 is like just a fraction of a percentage within the margin of error. Like
Right.
you wouldn't even nobody would even pick up if $5 came or went out of those companies that make, I want to say, billions of dollars for like Sony and Microsoft. I could be wrong, but it's at least very very high millions per year.
I don't know, like Nintendo's just they've always been a horrifically greedy company and like horribly ungrateful towards its fans.
Nintendo of Japan seems to be more so than Nintendo of America, but yes.
I don't even know about that cuz like Nintendo of America seems awful enough. So if like Japan's even worse, then that just seems horrible.
Well,
Cuz sure, go ahead.
Nintendo of Japan, they're the ones that they came up with the idea of like the YouTuber partnership program where it's like,
Oh,
hey,
okay.
you can't just record our videos and give us free publicity. Like you have to like give us part of that ad revenue because you belong to us
That just
or be
doesn't
a
make any
partner.
sense to me.
Yeah. Or be a partner in which you only have to give a smaller percentage of the ad revenue to us for every video you create.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Well,
fucking.
that affected some of my old ass videos. Of course, I don't care about them because they're like low quality, but even like a small time YouTuber like me is just like an automatic robot like detection thing. They went to
Yeah,
that great of a length.
it's algorithm. It just picks up on the pixels and all that
Well,
shit.
what a horrible waste of effort. You know, like, is that even beneficial to Nintendo in any way, really? Like, we've already made
No,
the argument that it's the opposite, right? They're actually losing out and being stingy in that way. Because all they're doing is, like you said, they're punishing people that are providing free advertising.
right. And you can argue that it's like when they're doing these like triple A Nintendo like big year releases, like if somebody's let's playing uh fucking a Legends of Zelda game, you're gonna buy that anyway, like regardless of what the streamer says about it or you know. So you could make the argument that like they're not really helping Nintendo, but at the same time they're not hurting sales either.
Sure. I guess, yeah, that's the thing. Like, if anything, Nintendo thinks that publicity's potentially bad. Whereas, other companies, they're in a position where publicity could only be a good thing, even if could be like, oh, we're criticizing it. At least, like, they're a small company, so they're at least getting that light in the sun for, like, the first time ever. Whereas Nintendo, they just don't even want to get the chance of somebody criticizing their video.
I really don't know what it is. I can only speculate. Like,
Their game, I mean.
I can only speculate what Nintendo has a problem with
Maybe
as
they
far
really
as
just want the money. They just
maybe.
they were told by YouTube that they were totally in their right to ask for half of the revenue of videos that had to do with their stuff. Maybe that's it. They're like, "Oh, yeah, free money? Yeah, sure."
Well, before then they were just like copyright striking everybody, and you didn't get any of that revenue. So they made it so that like, hey, now you get some of the revenue of the thing you made and you put all the effort into.
So, YouTube was probably partly
They're
why they're probably what convinced Nintendo that they didn't have to just copyright ban them outright.
I'm sure they were instrumental in letting YouTubers use Nintendo games finally.
They're like, you could still um you could still claim this as your own video as Nintendo,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not gonna discourage our user base and upset them as much. Which to Nintendo, they probably like that too, where Nintendo would rather uh, uh, do the lukewarm thing, where it's like you kind of piss people off, but you still get what you want, kind of, as opposed to getting everything that you want and really pissing people off.
It was
Like,
still shitty.
I don't know. They've really lightened up about it though. Like, honestly, I don't think that nowadays you get a copyright strike, or like, I don't think that you have to share revenue for Nintendo videos really anymore. Maybe for like,
I want to
uh,
say that's true. Otherwise, I don't think the Game Grumps would be making YouTube videos with their content.
I think that was a certain time that was prevalent.
Yeah, it's probably we're probably past that time at this point.
It's weird because not even all of my videos that had Nintendo uploads, like the ones that did get a we have to share revenue now thing from Nintendo, the ones that were similar to that, some of them didn't get that, even though it was the same fucking game. So I don't even know. Maybe it's just something wrong with their uh,
Just a glitch in the algorithm, I
maybe
imagine.
maybe, but like sometimes that algorithm's like way too sensitive. Like recently, I made a cover of the Beatles song "A Hard Day's Night" for a
Hmm.
video, and I was I'm pretty sure that them claiming that they own the rights to my version of a song, even though I didn't write the song, is actually illegal. Like that they're technically claiming rights over something that I made.
Not if you copied certain parts of the song. There's a legality about copywriting a song, and that you can the guy who did the music for Doom knew this law very well, that you can copy certain parts of a song but not like others. Like, I don't know the specifics of it, but like you can't copy the song verbatim and like put it into a game and like say it's your own shit without like giving royalties to the original artist. But
That's different though. This we're talking about them claiming that they own the recording essentially. Cuz me uploading that video doesn't necessarily say, "Hey, I own the rights to the Beatles composition." Cuz in a video, a lot of stuff is just fair use. I don't know, maybe you're right, but like
part of the song is fair use and part of it's not. Basically what it does is says, "Hey John, don't try to make money off of this because you don't own this shit. Parts of the song you can do that, other parts you can't. Like
weird.
if you copy a song verbatim, I think it's the chorus you can't fucking
Well,
I
like,
don't
how
know.
do you
I'm
define
gonna have to look
chorus,
this up
though?
because this is gonna fucking piss me off.
But I guess, like, how do you define chorus, though? Like, that's such a nebulous thing. Like, you could say, oh, well, that's not the chorus, that's the pre chorus, and then right after it's the chorus. Just cuz. Like, it may. Like, there's no scientific boundary to what parts of the song is what. It's all just kind of like you feel it. That's why fucking robots and I don't know. Anyways, you got a lot of mayonnaise.
Yeah, I sold a lot of mayonnaise.
It's nice. It's nice. What you sold like what? Uh, is that like a twofer? They bought like a 2 pack of duck mayonnaise.
I sold two things of mayonnaise.
Well, no, because it looks like you sold like 5 things of mayonnaise.
Oh yeah, technically five. So
They bought
there's the
a two
Gold
pack
Star.
of mayonnaise.
There's one mayonnaise that they bought, then two duck mayonnaise, then two Gold Star regular
Oh,
mayonnaise. So those sold for significantly
so
more.
that's like high quality, like top
Yep,
tier mayonnaise. That's the good shit. If you want the good mayonnaise, then you contact Bradley.
that's just if you use a large egg for the mayonnaise, which is RNG dependent,
If
based
you,
on
oh, I see.
um. Actually, it's not totally RNG. Like if you have a high heart rating on your chickens, then they drop large eggs more.
And that's like if they like you.
It's when I say hi to my chickens and the heart appears every day.
I'm very concerned that your wife spends all her life in the kitchen.
She does not. She goes out like uh in the daytime. She'll go into town or like she'll go do other things. Does her own thing.
She does wifey stuff.
Yep.
I mean, I'm surprised considering um, your your social attitudes that you don't keep her in the barn like an animal.
Well, that's where most women belong. Honestly, I don't know how they keep getting out of there, but
I mean, they're safer in there, honestly.
yeah, really, like from other people, they don't need friends. They just need me.
Yeah.
Somebody somewhere is gonna listen to this and just not get the satire.
People
I
like
like
that need like I'd say they need to be lobotomized, but they're already like that.
yeah, so it's like, would that make any difference?
They need
But
like
no, like
the gap in
I
their skull to be filled.
like I'll say these jokes exactly that way with those exact vocal inflections, and people will just like get pissed off at me. It's like, do you just not get that I'm making a joke?
People are brain dead. That's just how it
I,
is. And
like they'll stare at me. They'll stare at me, right? Like, and
yeah,
it'll be somebody who I'm like casually acquainted with, and I'll be like, "Could you imagine if I really thought that way?" And they're like, "I was gonna say," I'm like, Do you
I am shaking my
fucking
head.
really, like, fucking really, dog? Fuck off."
Like that's just a sign of stupidity,
They
honestly.
say how to. Yeah,
I don't
see,
know. I'm probably being an asshole. I say these things, but then like maybe like my friend does this thing that I'm criticizing, and then I wouldn't say that they're a stupid asshole.
yeah, it's like all about perspective, right? If some rando does this, you're like, "Fuck them, they're a stupid asshole." But if it's like your buddy, it's like, "Oh, well, I'm
Well,
sure you had your reasons
well
for
that
thinking
that
that
being
way."
said, it's probably I lean towards the side that I should probably just I'm probably meaning those things in either case. It's just I'm trying to save my ass when it involves my friend.
Well, it's more than that. With your friend, there's like more of an effort to understand where they're coming from,
That's true.
because that's somebody you care about. But when it's just some rando, it's like, no, you're probably a stupid fucking prick, which is, slight ignorance on your part. But I feel like in this case, it's slightly warranted because it's like they showed ignorance to what you were doing first. So I don't know.
Well, I am pretty ignorant myself.
Yeah,
I love the fucking sound effects, just the bonk bonk of the axe.
I like the little pop pop noises you pick up the logs.
Yeah, it's all great. A creaking sound. There's a lot of attention to detail.
Yeah. I feel like the sound design was like I was rather impressed by it honestly. For like what this game looks like and the scope of this game. Like they've put effort into the fucking sound design.
Gives my ears a boner.
Yeah, exactly. Man.
In fact, now my headphones can't fit.
Your ears are just too erect.
What if like elf ears worked like that? They're not always pointy. That's just when they're into you.
Everybody in Lord of the Rings was just fucking just ready.
You know
All the fucking elves just ready to go.
the uh, the prospect of ever-present war and doom just gets them rock hard.
Yep, all the time.
I don't know if I was an elf, I'd probably have some weird fetishes. Just because elves are weird.
Yeah, it seemed rather.
Plus, I already have some weird fetishes, so
The elves in Lord of the Rings specifically seem rather prudish.
uh, not as prudish as high elves in Elder Scrolls.
Yeah,
Now those guys are a bunch of pricks. I guess I'm thinking of specifically the Thalmor. I'm being kind
yeah,
of
the
an asshole.
Thalmor,
Yeah, but
the Aldemary Dominion or whatever the
that's like
fuck.
true about all the races in Skyrim. Like,
Yeah, they're all fucking. None of them seem like they're down to fucking just bump uglies and
well, I mean,
maybe
like
slap biscuits.
the ruling classes of each of the races in Skyrim are just a bunch of contemptible assholes.
Uh huh. Fair enough.
So,
I
like,
agree with
the
that
ruling class of
assessment.
Nords, like, I would say are like the Stormcloaks in a way, and they're just a bunch of racists. Um, even though I don't
Well,
know, I had some um
you
sympathy
can
for the
make an argument.
Stormcloaks back in the original playthrough, just because like they were being persecuted for their religion, and
Yeah,
like
which is always terrible, but and like the reasoning behind it was pretty stupid too. It's like, well, your guy that you worship kicked our asses, so don't worship him. That's pretty much what it
that
like
just makes
came
you want
down
to
to.
kick their asses again.
Yeah, but then they like didn't allow that to happen. I don't know. Fucking Elder Scrolls has good like history lore aspects, but their actual character development and
Oh
like
yeah,
it's so it's so shallow in my opinion. Like because you said that about like how all the characters have some sort of contemptible like thing, all the ruling class characters, and it got me thinking like, is there any sort of depth of character that you can get through Skyrim? I don't think there is.
um, Uthgard
Like,
kind of had some character. There's some
is he
character in
the Whiterun girl?
she is one of
Oh,
the buddies that you could get to follow you in she's like in a bar in Whiterun.
oh, I know her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. I have fond memories of her because when Sips played Skyrim, he just made like this hilarious lore about Uthgard and him, and would like praise her and be like, "Yeah, you big bitch." Just I don't know. Has just such a crazy fucking tone that I love, or I loved. I guess I don't really watch anymore.
Hmm.
I don't know. They all get old. They all play the
I guess
same
that's what
shit.
they're going for is like sort of let's make sort of a blank canvas so people just have their little RP fucking just play around.
For
But
people like Sips, it works pretty well because
yeah,
they fill in the gaps really well.
but when you're doing that, do you take it seriously or is it just for the people watching that you make those jokes? And
Do
I
you have
don't
to
know.
take it seriously? I mean, you could just like Just be doing it for
Is it
fun.
immersive for you? Is what I'm
It
asking.
doesn't have
Like,
to be though necessarily. It could just be funny, and you get that entertainment. You know,
yeah.
like the whole like with Sips. Like I'm sure he was like laughing his ass off the whole time.
Oh yeah. No, totally. I get that he was entertained by it, but um, when I play RPGs, I like a sense of immersion, and I don't think I would get. I don't fully get that with Skyrim from the characters. The worlds themselves, yes, I get fully immersed in like how pretty they look and like the quest lines and the history. And
What convinced me um of how like well like what not really convinced but like what hooked me into the world and like the believability of Skyrim was when I started like opening books and like reading them, and some of them were like interesting, or like there was a series of them, so you could collect a few of them and like follow the story. And it's like I don't know, stuff like that where it's completely unnecessary. It's there just to add to the world as a whole, and you read it basically like your character would. That stuff's amazing.
I here's what I hate about those, and it's not a criticism on the game. It's myself. I hoard them in my inventory, those books, those stories. And I'm like, I'm gonna get bored of this game one day. I'm gonna sit down and we're just gonna do fucking just do a day of fucking lore. Just read through the lore of these fucking books and see what they add to the story. Never fucking happens. They
Just
just
read them when you find them.
yeah. No,
That's what
because
I
it's
would
like,
do.
oh, I'm in the middle of something. I can't fucking stop and read. It's gonna break my immersion. It's like I'll never get around to fucking reading it.
Make it part of your immersion, like make an excuse for your character to want to stop and read, like, oh,
That's
this is my
that's a good
favorite
point.
book.
Like I'm crawling through a fucking dungeon. It's like, what's this? The slutty Argonian? Well,
That's basically what it's called. What was it called?
or
Like
is lusty
yeah,
Argonian maid is
the
what it was.
slutty Argonian wench.
Apparently, there's the lusty Argonian maid, and there's like a male version of it too.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
The
it's one
lusty
of those really
Argonian
popular.
uh, paladin. I don't know. What's the male version of a maid? Butler. The lusty Argonian butler. That sounds kind of sultry. I could write that and sell it to a bunch of lonely housewives.
Yeah,
Why is it snowing? Is it just like, is that
it's
the
winter time.
season? Okay. Time happens so fast in this world.
I hate this minigame with a fucking passion.
It looks kind of like a bitch to learn.
Yeah, it's because it's like the bar has momentum, so you overshoot it, and you gotta wait for it to like stop and then reverse direction. And it's just, what the fuck?
What?
Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit on mouth.
Just seems really time consuming for how like hit and miss it is.
Yeah, it apparently gets better as you level up, but it's like I can't. I've tried many times to catch a single motherfucking fish, and it just does not happen.
I guess it's
So
like, it's kind of like real fishing. Need like a terrible amount of patience, and then suddenly like you just always get fish. Bradley, you're starting to feel exhausted.
yeah, if that ain't my life.
Just
How's
con-
things, Sean?
what if it was
How's
just
your week been?
constantly there?
Oh yeah, that'd be fucked.
That would just be real life. You feel sluggish from overexertion. This
Yep,
is.
this is real life right here.
Did you get the Bradley's real life expansion mod?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Cool.
Like every now and again, you'll wake up in the morning and it takes you an hour to get out of the bed because your back hurts.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
that
gonna
got really sad. That was supposed to be funny.
I'm gonna go cry. Where's your? Oh, there she is. She
Yeah.
looked like a pillow. I
Oh,
guess
she
a
is a
good a,
pillow.
a good wife is like a pillow.
That's all they're good for.
I don't know. That sounds horrible. I,
Yeah,
I I meant to say that they're nice to and comfy to sleep on and like cuddle with.
that's all they're good for, John.
No, for a moment I thought the big purple bear was your wife.
She is a big purple bear. I love snuggling with her.
Bear's usually used as like a term for gay lover.
It's any burly man,
True,
basically.
like it could be straight, but like yeah, I wouldn't call your wife a bear.
Nope.
I mean, I
No.
would, but I'm rude.
Yeah, you are. What?
um, watering can though? Was that champagne or wine? I mean,
Yeah. The
nice.
downstairs. I have a little cellar that I'm aging all my alcohol in. Oh fuck! I never filled up these.
So much
So
goddamn cheese.
let me go through this. So you grow crops during the like main seasons, summer, spring, and fall, and then after you're done growing them, you harvest them. Well, after you harvest them, you get far enough in the game, you could build these fucking kegs, and then you could just put them in here, the fucking fruit or whatever, and you can make wine.
Aw. So you have
Takes a couple
capacity for
days.
15 bottles.
Yes,
Holy fuck.
yes, and that is like still not enough when it's harvest season. Like I end up getting more each day. Like all these fucking hops I have, fuck. I've like only been doing this every other day because I just can't be fucked to like spend 5 minutes every fucking day getting hops and then like because my greenhouse allows me to harvest year round. Like I would just never get all the hops to be able to put them into bottles. That takes like 3 days, and then you age them, which takes like 2 weeks,
Can you just
and
sell
then
the
you can find them.
hops?
You could, but you don't make enough money. It's like not
Mm.
worth it. If I was just turning them into alcohol, I might be able to like keep up with it, but I can't.
This is
I
giving
need like
me
a
flashbacks of the game Weed Tycoon.
yeah.
Me and Phil used to play the shit out of that. Especially when we were out of weed and we would just play it and like think about the good times when we had weed.
Remember when we used to have this, John? Yeah, I remember Phil.
The
That was
names were
yesterday.
fun. It was a nice game. It was cute. You
You get to
played
name your
as
strains.
no, you didn't get to breed or anything. Actually, I think in maybe a later version you could do that. I only played the free one. This, you know how Adult Swim games is, where they have like the first version of something and they like it gets popular, so then they keep editing it, and then you can't play the fucking original anymore.
Yeah, they're dumb.
I don't know. They did some good stuff. Like I like Duck Game, that's made by Adult Swim or published by them, I guess. Uh, what was
Well,
that other
Flash
one?
games, isn't it?
Uh,
It used to be.
yeah, I mean on their website, because that's like the best way to have video games on your website. At least used to be. Nowadays, you use JavaScript and HTML5. I think is what you do.
Those
Something
are much
about
better.
something about HTML5 allows you to actually do games. I guess. I think it like lets you use JavaScript within like a thing. I don't know. Something video game.
Game development. Rah, rah, rah.
I've been programming.
I saw that you posted one of your like coding snapshots.
Yeah.
It's not a language I know, so I wasn't even gonna begin to understand what was going on.
Well, it is free basic. So
I don't know Basic very well
you kind
at
of
all.
of the languages you've dabbled with, that's like you got some familiarity.
Python, I can like look at it and know what's happening.
Okay.
Um, Java, I might be able to look at it and know what's happening, but Basic, like, fuck to the no. I don't know what's going on.
Well, especially with mine, since It's like really complicated, like engine fucking crap. It's annoying. It's just a bunch of dumbass geometry. It's so annoying. So like
Well,
I've
it's
been
like you spend like a year on that or whatever. It's like, okay, my engine's done. Now I can get to the fun stuff, right?
pretty
Is that it?
much, yeah.
That's pretty much how it works. Like you dedicate time to like, I'm just gonna make this part of it from scratch, and now you're done. And it's like, hey, I made this thing.
I think in a way, like you'd probably keep having to design the engine as like you come up with new ideas for what your game can do, and you realize that you need to program something.
Oh yeah,
And there's always the question of how do I design this? Because there's always a million ways you could, and maybe one way is like the most efficient, but it's not necessarily the easiest to implement or to use or to
or
deal
to
with.
understand how to like write that out.
Yeah, but then you try to get somewhere in between essentially. Like I used to try to just make like the most efficient code, but there's like no fucking point. Plus I'd never finish it, so it'd be pointless anyways. So now I'm more like I'm not going to make like the most sloppy slow code possible cuz I don't want to have to refactor it later. I'm not just going to like dedicate my life to doing something
Well,
the
I feel like you
complicated way when I could get some stuff done.
you should do it like a sloppy run first, and then you should just rewrite it like down the line. Like, okay, how can I optimize this? All right, I'll just put this here, do this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Where like, I don't want to do it the sloppiest way I can because then it'll be like a really big chore in making it not sloppy. Whereas if I
Right,
like
I feel
meet
you.
it down the middle from the get go, it'll just be easier. I won't
Right.
really, I won't even necessarily have to, refactor it as it's called. If I program it like okay enough, especially since processors are pretty powerful, and I'm not designing rocket physics simulations or anything like that. But anyways, I had to make a code for one box to be able to move around with the arrows, but to be stopped by a bigger box. And
Sounds like an if then statement to me, my friend.
there's a whole fuckload of ifs. So there's that, and that took a little while. And then I decided I want a box that I can move by pushing with the box that I'm moving. I want like a pushable box because you have those in games.
Yeah.
You can push stuff. That was easy enough, but then the question became, what about when you're hitting something that you can push and you're hitting something that you can't push? What the fuck happens? And essentially like shit might like fly around. So like there's a lot of weird shit going on at that point. So now I have to check if the box. First, I have to check. Okay, am I gonna move into something that's solid and unmovable? If no, then am I gonna move into something that is solid but is movable? If yes, I don't know. It's just so fucking complicated, and I'm just
It's this
hoping
longest
it's
statement. If this, then this. If this, then that. If this, then that. And then finally you get to like, okay, there's one other thing that could happen, and you're just else this.
exactly. There's just million things that could go on, and like,
Maybe an
who
if then
knows if I'm,
statement.
yeah.
Maybe that's just not the best way to do that.
That's like the only way to do it. I don't know. This
Conditionals, yeah.
yeah. I mean, if then is like that's just the basic good branch statement. There's bad ones, and that's what they call spaghetti code, which you might have heard of.
I've heard of that referred to when back before the days of object oriented programming. when there were still go-tos and shit like that. So you said
Essentially,
you like go-tos,
I don't really, but there's something nice about them. I don't like it when they're not allowed at all. I like having
right?
the option, but no, you shouldn't use go-tos in general. Like this thing I've been coding, I do not use go-tos. I wouldn't even dare. It would be awful spaghetti code, like I was gonna mention. So spaghetti code is like when you have go-tos, and it's cause like it goes all over the place, and it's hard to
Right.
read. So you might write it like, uh, do all the things you need to do, and then okay, I got a go-to. If like you do this, then go to this thingy, which is basically what an if statement is. I mean, here's the thing: if statements and like all conditionals and all of that, like loops and stuff, they all use go-tos in assembly. Like the what they compile into involves go-tos, essentially. But it's like using it in that form and assures that you don't get confused by it. If you're the one making the go-tos and like designing them in that fashion, then it's just awfully confusing.
Especially if you don't think about like, okay, how can I arrange this program so that it makes sense with the right go tos in the right places. It's not like, oh, I just thought of I have to like go to this line to do this thing, like in the middle of writing a code, right? It's like you thought about it beforehand. You like, what's the cleanest way I can write this out?
It's just sort of like instead of your code having like nice little discrete blocks of like procedures, you
Mm-hmm.
have spaghetti. I mean, it's just list of commands, and the only thing delineating this whole giant block of code, which is your program, the only thing dividing that into chunks is go tos, and that it's just not. It's confusing. I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining it well enough. But like, I don't
By
know.
delineate, you mean like sectioning it?
Yeah, cause like, there's no way to have a procedure in straight up assembly. You know?
That's when your comments become very relevant. I like commenting on code, adding lots of comments. Like, hey, this does this, this
I mean,
does
that's
that.
nice, especially if like you plan on um sharing your code with anybody.
Well, not just that, but going back 10 years later and figuring out, oh, what the fuck does this do? Because you're
That
not going to
too,
remember
yeah,
it.
that's true. Otherwise, you would have to essentially like um reverse engineer it by reading it in your head,
Right.
which can take a lot of time.
Yeah, if you just want to very quickly, hey, how does this work? You just add some comments and
Right.
yeah.
Um, I tend to use comments, especially when it's like a bit of code that to me I don't think makes sense unless like you do a lot of thinking about what it means, and I just want to translate it really quick for like ease of use. So like I might have a statement that essentially means move the character left, but it's written in such like a convoluted way that I felt the need to write the comment that said move the character left, because like
Like
it's
you can,
it's written like uh, uh, find list of entities, look for the player, apply these variables pertaining to what buttons have been clicked, apply, like there's just so much shit, so I just
yeah.
translate it in the comment right next to it.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You don't have to get through this convoluted list of like, what the fuck was I trying to do with this line of code?
Yeah,
You just have, hey, jackass, move character left.
right. And then other stuff, I feel like if I commented it, it would be like it's just too obvious to where if I commented it, it would be more work than just thinking about it.
Yeah,
Because say if I have to rewrite it, then I have to rewrite the comment as well. And I don't know. If I can avoid writing comments, it's kind of there's a good reason for that too. But yes, in general, comments are pretty nice.
not on YouTube.
Uh, yeah, they've gotten better. I feel like I did see a horrible uh reply chain on YouTube recently. It was like some old, not even that old, like 2015 AVGN like movie review video. I
My
think it
God, they're
was.
just disgusting sometimes.
Oh yeah, but like the video was like it had nothing to do with the video. The video was like, is it horror? And where they discuss like a bunch of movies where it's kind of like, is that a horror movie? It's kind of interesting to think about. It's kind of on the cusp.
Right.
Uh, and some guy, I guess like the way it started was James Rolfe mentioned Schindler's List and was like, "Is that horror?" And
Oh God.
there's horrible things in it, which is kind of the argument. But a commenter was like, "I don't know. Schindler's List is more just a drama." Um,
Which is a reasonable comment.
yeah. And then somebody below it said, and they had a Pepe avatar, so
Of
this is
course.
already bad. Not a good sign.
Yeah.
And
Because you know they're from 4chan. Here we
yeah,
go.
yeah. But he said, he made a comment like, actually, Schindler's List is more like, um, Jewish porn or something like that. Basically, a
What's
thing like,
oh yeah, I see what he's saying. It's
yeah,
like yeah. That's which is just kind of disgusting.
no, it's like a totally horrible comment.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of people just like calling him out, just like, you're a
Fuck
fucking
your
idiot.
Nazi
Yeah, but
anti-Semitic bullshit.
he just kept going down on it, and like one thing was like, um, the fact that they don't want you to talk about things pertaining to the Holocaust means that it must not be true. Just like the most stupid logic. Like I get what he's
It
saying with that, where it's like, oh, they don't want us to talk about it for a reason, but it's like nobody says you can't talk about the Holocaust. I mean, in Europe maybe that you can't, but in America you can talk about the Holocaust all
well,
you
it's all about
want.
context, right? In Europe, I know in Britain specifically, they have this museum of like. You remember that Dark Tourist thing that I was telling you about? That was on Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah, there's this guy in Britain that has like this shock museum of just like fucking weird fucking shit that's like controversial and whatever the fuck. Yeah, lots of Nazi memorabilia at that museum. So I'm sure in Britain specifically, you can talk about Nazism and
Well,
shit.
what I mean specifically is, especially in Europe, you can't, or there's a lot of cases where people have been like punished like by the law for denying the Holocaust essentially.
Yeah, you can even get arrested for wearing Nazi memorabilia. Like it's
Right.
illegal. Like you can't like have a swastika anywhere. It'd be illegal. So
But specifically with like, denying the Holocaust, that's where I side with the people that are like, we need to protect free speech because like I don't know. I don't feel like
yeah,
I feel
even
like
if
the people that deny the Holocaust disprove themselves by how illogical they are.
well, I when it comes to disproving speech, when it comes to the free speech argument, I fully align with what Noam Chomsky said, where it's more important to be supportive of free speech that you don't agree with.
Right.
because Joseph Stalin, he was in support of free speech with things that he agreed with. You could
Right.
talk about how as much as you want how much you love Joseph Stalin. It's only it's only really relevant and important when it's things that people don't agree with. That's what you should defend. Because when the government starts to do things that the people don't agree with, having the right to say what they want about that, for to speak openly and freely, is going to be incredibly important.
Well, it's interesting you bring up Chomsky in particular because
He
he,
defended a Nazi or a
not a
Holocaust
Nazi, but
denier.
yeah, I think it was a man who wrote a book, with a bunch of like circumstantial, like factoid type of things about just sort of trying to discredit the idea of a Holocaust or like various things like whether there was ovens or this actual number, just all the sorts of little nitpicky topics that Holocaust deniers bring up today.
Some of
And
those are reasonable. I want to say actually, like the actual number. Yeah, those might have been inflated by the Israelis to get more support for doing certain things, but it's more nitpicky shit when you
I think
really
that's
get
like
down to it.
it's like besides the point is really
It's
like
like, okay, it wasn't whatever the number is right now. It was this slightly smaller number, which does that really detract from what happened? Does that really change
it's like
that a
if
genocide had happened?
it's like if I killed somebody and my argument is in court is, well, look at Charles Manson, he killed like 8 people. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, that's worse, but you still did a fucking crime.
Well, it's more closely related to like you have a mass murderer who killed 20 people. That we say he killed 20 people. Some guy's like, no, no, none of it happened because there's only 16 people. So that whole thing's false. It's like,
Yeah,
well, no, that's not how it works. Okay, they got the specifics wrong, but that doesn't detract from what happened.
that's just at the point where you're bringing up factoids, like I mentioned. You're not talking about one solid criticism, one like line of logic and thought. You're sort of just bringing up, well, this isn't right, and this is like weird, and there's something fishy about this, and so I'm suspicious. But then like it's never anything conclusive. It's like, okay, yeah,
I
let's say that you find out something fishy about one of the concentration camps, like maybe something, or like I think one that deniers that I've talked to, sadly talked to, um, ones that they've mentioned are things like uh, something about U.S. or just Allied soldiers digging up the graves of concentration camp Jews so they could count them or something. And like this is just one of those random points that they bring up in order to like sort of like make you think, oh, this is all fishy and questionable. When it's just like, well, yeah, that one small little weird aspect that you brought up that doesn't seem to have to do with anything.
how is
Sure,
that even questionable? They would just be doing that to get a more accurate number of like, okay,
he's
how
basically
many at this camp died.
right. The argument is basically like, well, that's horrible too, isn't it? And it's like kind of trying to just distract from what we're talking about.
Not given the context of the situation,
Given the
I think
context,
it's rather reasonable to do
it's
that.
reasonable, especially since you're gonna want to identify bodies for families.
It's like, how did they die to begin with? They
That
just
too.
old age, or no, they got shot in the back of the head in a trench.
Right.
But it's
It's
horrible that they dig that up, so that basically nullifies what was done to them.
one of the guy in the angry video game nerd comment thread. The guy
Hmm.
that the Mr. Pepe. He one of the things he mentioned was something about like you can't burn bodies that are like 90% water that quickly. And it's like, how do you know that? Where are you getting your facts from? Like,
Um,
did some
I don't know
guy
how
tell you?
quickly it was depicted in the movie, but he may actually have a point. Uh, there's this very niche YouTube channel I watch called Ask a Mortician, and she goes, I don't know why I watch it. She's rather interesting and adorable, and she just goes into really obscure facts about cremation and like being a mortician that like it's a rather interesting niche that I follow. Anyway, yeah, she talks about how the cremation process happens, and it's a lot longer than you might think.
Well, okay, so it sounds like then his criticism is more specifically about something in the Schindler's List.
It's more specifically about how it's depicted,
Well,
the
okay,
specific
we're
act.
talking
Yeah,
about a movie, right?
yeah, yeah. They're gonna get some shit wrong.
There's
It's
something called
Hollywood. It's
poetic
pacing.
device, artistic
Yeah.
license,
Uh huh.
right? You're able to sort of, yeah, smudge it up a
Creative
bit to make it,
liberties.
yeah, so you can make it good. Like what's the point in having a realistic time for how the
So you
bodies were
take up
burned?
half the fucking movie to show this one body being cremated for it to be realistic
Yeah,
instead of
plus, like, couldn't you just do a time lapse anyways? Like, what's the point?
yeah,
A time lapse would just look unnecessary because you
yeah.
could just shorten the fucking scene. Like, that's just a complete misunderstanding of the purpose of movie. I don't know, people that are bent over, like,
You remember
disproving
that?
the Holocaust on the internet, that's
You
just,
remember that video I showed you, John? Himmler's speech at the I forget where he made the speech, but it was to his SS officers, basically telling them the orders of the final solution.
yeah,
You remember that?
I
That
do, yeah.
having known that, now that I know that exists, and having read the translations, what happened, and reading through the more reasonable comments that said, yeah, this is basically an accurate translation of what was being said in the video. I cannot give any. I can't even like take Holocaust denial with any sort of serious mindset. Like there's no way I can believe it because you have the fucking one of the main inner circle members of Hitler's cabinet telling his officers that are in command of hundreds of men, thousands of men each, that we are going to kill the fucking Jews. We are going to go to these concentration camps and destroy them by any means necessary.
It's weird, too, because you'd think, like, okay, so they're denying the Holocaust. Maybe they have like a certain agenda about Nazis. Like maybe they're in favor of the Nazis or something. But no, a neo-Nazi wouldn't. Why would they deny the Holocaust? That was like their whole fucking goal. You'd be proud of that. You would
Public
point.
perception, I believe.
Okay, well then you're actively accepting that. Well, okay. Here's my thing. Mr. Pepe on the internet. Why does he feel the need to do it? I feel like with him, it has nothing to do with any political belief. He's just a fucking weirdo and has nothing better to do, and is just bent on this like thing that he can't stand people having a misconception about, supposedly. Even though the topic is horrible. Like
Um,
that guy, he could be black, or he could be Jewish, you know,
it
and
all
just
stems from a hatred of Jews and like a mistrust of them. Basically, they don't believe anything that Jews say because they hate them. Um, he was a Holocaust denier, um, and he said outright, "I hate Jews." I'm like, that's a stupid thing to say, to hate an entire a group of people like that's that large. Like, why would you hate a specific group of people that their only unifying factor is their faith or ethnicity. Um, and he's like, well, no, just a lot of Jews are like this. I'm like, okay, then you hate those very specific Jews. Like, there's just no reasoning with ignorant people, racist people. Like, I've come to realize because
Yeah, that's true.
they're like, okay, I had this specific experience with a few people of a specific ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, gender, whatever. A specific group of people that have a specific unifying factor. And that means that they're all shitty in some way or not as good as my people. Like, that's dumb.
What's messed up
No.
about that is that it tends to be white people with these bigoted views about other races. And if you were gonna take niche examples of people in a race doing horrible things, then judging white people wouldn't be unreasonable. Because, like, some of the worst fucking criminals and, like, weirdo cannibal and freaks and just murderers and, like Hitler have been
Yeah,
fucking white people.
that's be-
So if you're
well,
gonna
like,
if you're gonna have this thing like few examples of a race being fucking assholes are gonna make me hate that whole race. Hate white people then.
no. That's way too much self awareness. Way more than they're capable of.
Yeah, basically.
Because it comes from like a basic human uh, need to be cautious and afraid of outsiders, people outside what you're around, because strangers are dangerous.
Right.
And
Everybody
we could,
considers some people insiders and others outsiders. And it's
right,
really a
and the
matter of question whether that's based on race. That's just like an upbringing type of thing, like a kind of a logic thing too.
yeah, and it's all shit that we should have grown past by now. We should be adults. Like we should have
We
gotten
should
past it by
understand by
now.
now that people of different races, that different races doesn't confer like criminality or like
Yeah.
propensity to murder or to be an asshole or anything like that.
Hmm.
That's all like, if anything, we're finding out it has more to do with like maybe your nurturing as a child, which I don't know. I think that we might start going down a road of being prejudiced towards um, certain mental health states, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, mental health and like acceptance and awareness. That's a whole nother can of worms. Okay, it's a little bit short, but I think that's about all my back can take for one night.